Hello and welcome to Linux Server Training 101. My name is Don Crawley. I'm from soundtraining.net. We're the Seattle, Washington-based provider of accelerated training for IT pros. This time we're doing how to create and use aliases in Linux. It's based on Chapter 2 in my book, The Accidental Administrator Linux Server Step-by-Step Configuration Guide. The book is not required for you to watch the video, but if you'd like to get a copy to follow along, it's available from Amazon and through other channels. The Linux distro that I'm using for the demos is CentOS version 5.8, although truly what we're going to do here should work in any version of Linux or Unix, regardless of the version number or the distribution. Maybe you're using Debian or Ubuntu or BSD Unix or Solaris, doesn't seem to matter. These commands are pretty universal. What is the alias command? It's a shell function. It allows you to substitute one command for another. Where I see it most frequently used is when you want to shorten a long command. I'll give you an example of how I use it. I often administer my Linux server from a smartphone, and I'm not really good at typing with my thumbs, so I've used aliases to shorten some of the more commonly used commands when I'm working from my smartphone. Makes it a whole lot easier. Just, again, allows you to substitute one command for another. To create aliases, you use the alias command followed by the alias that you want to use, the shortcut, and then equals, and then in quotation marks you put the command and the options. So, for example, right below there I created the command, the alias LL, using ls minus L as the long command. Not a very long command, but you get the idea. To remove aliases, you use the unalias command, and then you specify the alias that you want to remove. Now, there's a problem, and that is that if you create an alias at the command line like this, it is only good for your current logon session, and that's not all that useful. So if you want to make them either permanent or global, then here's how you do it. To make them permanent, you add them to your own useraccounts.bashrc file, which is a hidden file in your profile, in your home directory. It's called .bashrc. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. If you'd like to make them global for everybody who uses the system and permanent, then you add them to a file called /etc/bashrc. You have to do that as root. You can add them to your own .bashrc file without being root, but if you want to make them global, then you do have to be root. Here are the prerequisites to do what I'm about to show you. You simply need a login account on a computer running either a Linux or Unix operating system. If you want to do the global command, then you will need to have root access to that system, but otherwise you won't even have to have root access. Hardware and software requirements, not a lot. I'm using CentOS version 5.8, but pretty much any version of Linux or Unix should work for you. You can run it on a physical machine, or I'm using VMware Workstation version 8.04. But again, this is pretty universal stuff. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the ways that we can use alias. Let's start by just creating an alias, a real simple one. So I'm going to type alias, and then we'll do YU, which is one that I use fairly often for yum update. And then we'll use the equal command, and I'm going to type in quotes and yum update and enter. And now let's go ahead and try the command and see what happens. So I'll type YU. Oh, it says I need to be root to perform the command. So let's remove the other one and fix it. So we'll type unalias YU. And now that alias is gone, let's use the alias command without any parameters just to make sure. That shows us the aliases that we have. And as you can see, it's not there. So let's fix that. So let's type alias YU equals sudo yum update. And now let's type YU and see what happens. It's asking for my password. And there it goes. We don't need to watch the whole process, so I'll do a Control-C to break out of it. But I do want to show you a couple of things. Let's go in and take a look at the alias command just by itself now. Alias. And there you can see the command is now showing. But here's a problem. Suppose that I log off. Let's log off. So I'll type log out. And now let's log back in, using putty for this process, by the way. So we'll go ahead and restart the session. Log in as Don. Put in my password. Now let's do the alias command and see if our YU alias is still there, and notice that it's gone. And that's the problem with just doing them from the command line. They are not persistent across logons and logoffs and reboots and so on. So we need to add them to a file called .bashrc in our home directory. Now I'll go ahead and do the pwd command for print working directory, and you can see that I'm now logged on as myself, and I'm in my home directory. And that's also where I have a file called .bashrc. So let's do vi.bashrc. And there at the very bottom you can see I've already added an LA alias. Let's add another one. So I'll type O, which is to insert a new line and go into insert mode, into editing mode in VI. And we'll type alias YU equals quotes sudo yum update. And then we'll do an escape :WQ to write and quit in VI. I'm using VI. You could use gedit or whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. I just happen to prefer the VI text editor. But now let's take a look at the alias command and see what happens. Oh, it's still not there. The reason it's not there is because in order for the .bashrc file to be read, we need to log off and log back on. So there's a couple of ways we can do it. Let's do it the awkward way first, and then I'll show you a little shortcut around that. So I'm going to go ahead and type log out. This is the awkward way. And we simply have to restart our session in PuTTY. So we'll click OK and go up and restart the session. Log back in as Don. Put in Don's password. And now let's type the alias command, and there you can see at the very bottom the command is there, the alias is there that we just created, and that's because the .bashrc file is read whenever we log on and log off. Let's remove it. So I'll type vi.bashrc once again, and the cursor's already there, so I'm just going to type dd to delete the line and :WQ to write quit. Now if I do the alias command, it's still there because that file was read into RAM. So in order for that to be lost, I need to log out. Let's go ahead and do a log out and restart the session. Log back in as Don. Enter Don's password. There it is. Now let's type alias. And now it's gone. I would like to make that command global for anybody who logs onto the server. Now, I'm not talking about the security implications of that. I'm just demonstrating alias. So let's change to user. Let's switch user to root, I mean. So we'll type su minus and enter root's password. And now I'm logged on as root. You can tell by the pound sign. And let's modify a file called etc bashrc. So we'll do vi/etc/bashrc. Notice that there's not a need for a dot there because this is not a hidden file in the global profile. We'll go to the very bottom of the file with the command Shift-G and then another lowercase o to insert a new line right below and go into edit mode. And now we'll type alias yu equals quote sudo yum update. Close quotes. Escape again. :WQ to write quit. And we've saved the file. Now, just a comment before I move on. I could add a -y in there if I wanted to. I always get nervous about updating the system blindly, so I like to see the updates that Yum is going to install before I do it. I almost always go ahead and accept them, but I want to know just as a precaution. I'm kind of a control freak that way. So now, let's see what happens if I do the alias command. Oh, it's still not there. The reason is because that file also needs to be read at logon. And how do we do that? Well, let's just do another su minus. And now I'm logged on as root, but I'm in a new session. And let's try the command and see what happens. Alias. And look at that. Down at the bottom, there it is. If I type exit to go back to my previous session and type alias, it's not there because this is left over from the previous logon. I could also log on as Don, so let's do su minus Don. And now let's do an alias command here and see if it's global, and look at that. Because I put it in /etc//bashrc, it is global to the entire system. So there's some examples of how you can use the alias command. As you can see, it's a very simple command, but the implications are very powerful in terms of simplifying administration for you, especially if you're like me and you administer it from a smartphone on the go a lot. If you'd like more information, you can visit our website at www.soundtraining.net. Our bookstore is at soundtraining.net/bookstore. More on that in a moment. I blog at soundtraining.net/blog. We've got more videos for you on our video channel. You can follow us on Google+. Also like us, please, on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. If you'd like more videos, we have more videos all the time. I try to add at least one a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, but they're available at www.soundtraining.net/videos. And if you'd like the companion book, it is The Accidental Administrator, Linux Server Step-by-Step Configuration Guide. It's available through Amazon and other channels. You can get to it by going to our bookstore at www.soundtraining.net/bookstore. Well, I hope it's been helpful for you. For soundtraining.net, I'm Don Crawley. I'll see you next time.